Budget 2026, government agencies vote 400 billion naira for mosques, palaces, and halls. About 78 ministries, according to this report, 78 ministries, departments, and agencies of the federal government set aside nearly 400 billion naira in the 2026 budget for the construction and rehabilitation of community halls, mosques, traditional rulers' palaces, village market squares, and civic centers, with more than half of the 400 billion being earmarked for non-developmental projects such as the supply of grains and motorcycles, sponsorship of community thrift societies, constructions of museums and mini stadia, as well as the supply of tricycles, popularly called keke marwa, to communities. I might not be able to give a whole rundown of the said ministries, but a few are the Ministry of Defense Headquarters, the Nigerian Air Force, Air Power Center of Excellence, the Nigerian Defense Academy, Technical Aid Corps, Foreign Missions. There's also National Building and Road Research Institute, alongside the National Agriculture Extension and Research Liaison Services in Zaria. There's so many other ministries and departments and agencies. But when you see a story like this, I want to know, Joshua, should cultural and ceremonial projects should they be prioritized, especially during such a time as Nigeria's economic hardship, which Nigerians are experiencing? Should such projects be, prioritized?
Well, culture is a significant part of who we are as human beings. You can't take away the people's language, the people's way of life, what they identify as and identify with. But if you ask the question the way you framed it, should it be prioritized, especially with the things you mentioned, the mosques, the churches, those things? I would say with the current realities, those are not Nigeria's priorities, because a lot of these things are within the ambit of individuals and, let's say, non-governmental organizations who can set up churches, do certain things. But we have a history with all this. People want to go for Hajj or pilgrimage. The government, those are billions for them. People feel like in Akwa Ibom State, one of the economical centers or whatever they call it, was built with state funds. Even though it was later phrased to look like, it's going to attract tourists and all those things. But the fact is, sometimes it feels like the government does not know what it is designed for or it's set out to do. And it also feels, on the other hand, like individuals have hijacked government to do personal, fashionable projects. Somebody feels like, I want to appease a certain group of people. Let's put it in the budget. There's no creativity. There's no thinking outside the box. In all these things, how many of it has spurred tourist growth in Nigeria?
What about the one for the traditional rulers, the rehabilitation of their palaces alongside the mosques? Do you think at least these are the grassroots level, they're the ones who help to liaise and talk with the people, interact with those at the grassroots? Do you think it should be a priority as well?
Government pays some of these traditional rulers some sort of subvention. Traditional rulers live within their community, right? How many traditional rulers can effectively say they can mobilize their community for developmental projects? I remember a time in this country where certain developmental projects like NEPA, poles for electricity, paving of roads were done by development unions. Organizations that of maybe indigenes in a particular community who live maybe in Lagos, Abuja, they come together, they contribute money to do things for their people. Of course, what they are doing is government responsibility. So what I'm asking in essence is, after renovating this palace, what does it do for us? It is not wrong to renovate it. We also know, yes, what's the return on investment one? And at the same time, these traditional rulers, what role do they play in making sure that security, because to whom much is given, much is expected. If we have to do all these things for you, what are we getting back? And then we also know the perennial problem. A palace that's supposed to cost 5 million to renovate, it will now be hijacked to 200 million naira. So we know that it is not the intention that's the problem, it's the execution. So the intention might be right, let's do this, because again, I will not deny there are significant cultural importance to some of these palaces and museums and all that. I was discussing with a friend from Arochukwu. If you go to areas like Arochukwu in Abia State, you will find ancient things that we can commodify to attract tourist revenue. But these are things that maybe the traditional rulers or institutions should even be advocating for, preserving, and then calling for investment from both government and non-government agencies. But everybody just waits and says, okay, no, let government come and do this thing. But the question is, the government is struggling for its life. The people are struggling for their life. These are things currently in that same community that maybe you want to renovate traditional rulers' palace and museum and all that. They may not have seen electricity for 20 years. They may not have good access roads that connect their farms to urban cities where the markets where they can sell. The local markets are not in any good shape. The parks where people can board vehicles or even recreational centers, the schools, what conditions are in those places? So if you can say favorably that these things have been addressed in some of these communities, I would not have a problem with you going ahead to renovate all this. But if we have not done this, it's mislabeling and a mispriority as far as I'm concerned.
So Joshua says we can also see in the proposed 2026 budget for 400 billion naira, mosquitoes were also mentioned, and civic centers. We also see that tricycles would also be dispatched to, and we also see the mini stadia too will be renovated. All these things, don't you think it's to hold some sort of value for the people of Nigeria?
It does. But my question is, what is the job of the local government? You do know traditional rulers are under local government. They are part of that local government's administration system. The local government is in charge of sanitation, is in charge of markets, in charge of parks, all these little things.
Even giving tricycles?
Tricycles is a different thing, but you can also empower as a local government chairman. It is when something is beyond you, a capital expenditure, as very big, the state government comes in, the federal government comes in. You understand? There are skills to projects, and constitutionally, you have everybody, every tier of government has rules. Now we don't have very autonomous local governments. So these little things. I've been to Akwa Ibom State. If you see the markets in Akwa Ibom, yes, I've been there. Yeah. If you see the markets, sometimes they sell up to 9-10 because it's lit.
And it's safe.
It's paved.
Very clean.
It's covered. Everything is organized. Yeah. Do you understand? I'm not saying it applies generally, but pockets of markets where you find in streets, and these are local government functions, probably helped by state governments. You will not find this model in many places.
So why do you think that's a problem? Like, why do you think that other states are lacking the same thing that Akwa Ibom State is doing?
The point is, again, everything has been hijacked. There's no project in Nigeria that has not been funded one way or another, but execution has not been done. Do you understand? Like I said, I have good intention doesn't mean that when I execute it will work out well for you.
Yeah.
You understand? So all of these things you've mentioned, I think some of them have been executed by certain ministries and that have no business doing some of those things. But if we domicile if we say local government, do your job. In Lagos State, for instance, there are a lot of local roads that are constructed by local government. There are a lot of health centers that are constructed by local government. I can assure you that it's also not the same in many states. When I was in Cross River State, you will see healthcare centers that a local government chairman should do. He's not doing it. He's waiting for this. He did not receive the funds. That's the problem. And even when what used to happen, sometimes the funds will come and they'll tell you the state needs to do investments in something, return some of these funds, just keep the one for salaries. Let's tell ourselves the truth. Why do you think the governors fought local government autonomy?
Yeah, and that's why the federal government.
Because suddenly the chairman can do things, the chairman can become popular. We can compare local government to local government receiving the same allocation, and this person is making progress while this person is not making. And suddenly you as a governor do not have the kind of influence you have. So you have all these kind of projects now where they come. Do you know how many times I go on different states and I see somebody argue with a senator, no, but you bring this project. Now reps member bring them. This project is done by the state government. This one, in all this thing, that road has not been constructed. They just put signboard that this road has been awarded by so and so. Execution has not happened, and they are arguing over who brought that project. So the question is, if we don't strengthen our tiers of government, arms of government, we'll still keep having this kind of budget. Truthfully, this thing should not be what should be in the budget. because the local government, the state government all have budgets that should address some of these major things. The federal government's job is to open up the economy for investment. Go and see what Alex Oti is doing. Every day there's one meeting with one investor that's coming in, and you see local government chairman queuing up to say, I want it in my local government. What does he need? We'll give him what he needs. What does he want? Does he want land? Does he want this? These are the way people want development think. Not we insert museum, tourism, this. First of all, as a government, as a people, have you identified that tourism is what you need? Or is this just the traditional rulers need? Is this what the community needs? Do you understand? Because we have individuals determining what the community needs, not the community saying, oh, if we do this, this will enhance our livelihood.
Thanks.